What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Know the Code. Good to have y'all with us. Me, myself, John Johnson, of course, once again with my man to my left.
You right. What's happening, y'all? Welcome back.
And my man to my right.
What's up, Big Lou?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We got two special guests with us today. Came to join us, man. One from Connecticut, the other one down from Georgia. And we happy to have them with us. Fellas, introduce yourselves real quick.
Peace, Angelo.
No doubt, Tony Tone.
No doubt, Angelo and Tone coming along for the ride, man. So we just want to get into it real quick, man. You know, as far as the news cycle is concerned, paying attention, seeing a few things as usual. One thing that certainly caught my eye seems to be a disturbing pattern that we are witnessing at this time in 2018. Down in Georgia, not only Georgia, but more specifically the city of Atlanta, there was a young brother found a couple of weeks ago hanging from a bridge by the AUC, chain around his neck. And a couple of weeks later, actually last week, there was a sister found hanging from a tree in Walmart on Old National Highway. Like I said, this is the city of Atlanta. This isn't even like you would think the country, you know what I mean, scarcely populated situation. You know, these things are on full display. So one thing I found interesting is that they were being labeled suicides before any autopsy was even done, which made me a little disturbed, to say the least, because it seemed like there wasn't even an investigation. So to me, it's like either black people have decided to suddenly reenact scenes from Mississippi's burning, you know what I'm saying, themselves, or we have history repeating itself all over again.
Yeah, at the very minimum, they got to look into it. You know, I think nowadays, and it's one of those things too. Like you see the, you know, I was in traffic the other day. Dude had his pickup with the big Trump "Make America Great Again" kind of window cover. You know what I mean? And, hey man, to each their own. You know, but it's definitely one of those things where it's like there's a new bravado that's been, you know, kind of re-injected into society. You know what I mean? And you see it. You know, where it's just like, at the very minimum, they got to look into it. You know, you can't just write it off as some sort of isolated incident, especially when you're talking about in 2 weeks, 3-week period, something like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's, you know, that to me is cover up, smells of cover up. You know, and
Definitely.
you know, again, without knowing anything for fact, it just at the minimum there should be some sort of, you know, looking into it.
Yeah, at least letting people know. I was speaking to my man Angelo over here, and I was asking him if you had heard of it, right?
Yeah.
And you were telling me that you hadn't, and I think the reason is because it hasn't been talked about. I called into you heard of Joe Morgan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Joe Morgan got a radio show, and one day he was talking about an old lynching that prompted an anti-lynching bill to try to be passed. Long story short, it was trying to get passed for a long time. Nothing happened. So I called and I'm like, yo, Joe, did you hear about the, you know, stuff that just happened? He like, well, you know, I'm trying to be careful about it. They ain't really do no official autopsy, whatever, independent. So he had to protect the integrity of his show. I understand that. But while he's being careful about it, being careful about that first one, another one popped up. And you got people walking around down there that don't even know what's going on. They might not have their eyes peeled in the way they would if they did. You understand what I'm saying? So I just think, yeah, to an extent, be careful, but also let's not be stupid. You know what I'm saying?
There's a reason they closing the case real fast, so no exposure. You know what I'm saying? Gets out. They don't want anybody to. They don't want the match to light on a powder keg, because you were saying it's a new bravado, but really I just think it's the same. It's the same shit that it's been, but now we're getting to see a little bit more of it, because like events that would have been in the local newspapers and but it died down and only people locally would have known about it. They're popping up to the national spotlight because of social media and the internet, because it's just the information is out there for people to see.
You can't hide from it. Like the guy who bugged out on the people speaking Spanish.
You know, in the cafe.
Place, you know, and I love what they doing to him. I love what they doing to him. I don't know if you see what they doing to the guy.
Him all over the city.
They making his life hell, and in a good way. Like it's almost like we're gonna mess with you now. I heard they had a mariachi band outside his apartment. You know what I mean? Playing like music all night. Like, yo, it's unacceptable.
There was a guy in New York City that went into a Starbucks with his family, and he was a black dude that had a hat on that said "Make America Great Again" hat on, and he was in a Starbucks, and they treated him like shit because he was a black dude wearing a Make America Great hat again. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And he went on Fox, CNN, had a private interview and everything, and he didn't have any hard feelings, but he made them look out to be the bad ones, and that's an American-rooted corporation in Starbucks, and to treat somebody like that because he had that hat on and he was of ethnicity and made it a big deal. What do you think?
So they clowned him because he had the hat on, basically?
Because he was black,
Starbucks
though.
people didn't want to serve him. They were treating him like
If he
like-
was white with
like
the
he
hat
was
on,
some
like,
red
Like
Joe.
overcorrection for the sensitivity training.
You know, that hat is like,
I
to me,
don't know.
it's like the new Confederate flag, personally. You know what I mean?
Nah,
And
it's
again,
there,
I
it's
understand
there.
people are entitled to their, again, with full disclosure, I don't begrudge anyone for their opinions. Like, yo, different eyes see different views. To me, facts are facts, but I also understand people aren't driven by facts. Not everybody's driven by facts.
That's good.
But when I see that, it kind of makes me look like, I don't know if you saw the video of LeBron the other day where a dude was like kind of trying to,
Get the towel.
gesture to him to throw in the towel, and it's just like, yo,
Yeah, you know what, though?
you either rock with it or you don't, and I think it's one of those things where even Kanye hurts his brand.
In
by,
all reality, though,
running with it.
in all reality, everything that you're talking about with the distraction of sports and bullshit propaganda and everything, the all reality of it is there's a 1% that's gonna be richer than us and gonna completely annihilate the 99% that is at the bottom of the 1%. All this sports, the way we live our lives and buy the shit that we got and everything that you're distracted with on TV and social media and all that shit is a distraction, and that 1% one day is gonna have us down to the bottom and erased. But we gotta be smart enough to see that 1% is gonna be there, sucking it all up from the smallest, minutest things that you don't even pay attention to. And it's going to be sucking you up pennies at a time, pennies at a time,
They treacherous.
pennies at a time. And by the time you notice it, they already got that other 99% at the knees to their neck. And it's happening right now. You know what I'm saying?
It's always been in play. Like
Everything else is
the
distraction.
system is real.
Word. It's always been real. But it's about us knowing which part of it is real enough to fight against and the parts that don't matter about fighting against.
Right.
It's distractions that take you somewhere where you don't even want to fight against because the real part is right here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we definitely get a lot of that where people are hyped to talk about the symptoms of the problem because it's easy to talk about the symptom because if you discuss the root, it might require you to do some work.
Right.
We could just talk about gun violence and not really talk about the situations that, lead up to it.
Funny you bring that up, right? And I think that's a good one to kind of go off on too, is the gun thing. Imagine if there was a rash of black and brown kids, Hispanic kids shooting up schools. What would the reaction be?
It would be no reaction if the kids, as long as the kids that were shooting up look like them.
No, but that's what I mean. If they didn't, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
You put these
yeah.
same settings, and again, I say this just for conversation's sake, but really in point to make a point. Like this has been going on for a long time. Like this ain't like there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4. It's like
Yeah.
we can keep going.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay,
pattern effect going on.
the system, again, we can talk about just the structure of government and politics and law enforcement and all that other stuff, prison and all those other things. They're quick to attack that stuff when it's not of this nature. You know what I mean? And it goes to the fact that they, these shooters get brought in alive and, all these other factors that just, you say to yourself, there's a humanity placed on these individuals that's never placed on anyone. And again, I heard, what's his name? Trump is on his way back to talk about MS-13 up here and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, yo, let's be real. Do they exist? Is it a problem in the hood? Yeah, gang violence and all that stuff's a problem. But like, yo, it's not that big a deal. You know what I mean? And by that I mean it's not that big a deal as in we can tackle schools, we can tackle jobs, we can tackle healthcare, we can tackle a lot more.
That shit that happened in Vegas when that dude shot down at 22,000 people that was sitting there having a concert and shit like that. That shit got so swept under the rug by the United States government, yo. And who the fuck are they to sweep that shit under the rug to the point where if it was anything else but that guy right there, it would have been so publicized, so mediaized. But it was a white dude, and his fucking wife came up, spoke forward. And how many times you saw that shit in the news after he killed all these people? Maybe a week worth?
Right.
If it was one of us, yo, how long you think that shit would have been in the news, bro?
Right.
They would have made us public enemy number one if it was one of us out there and shot down at 20,000 people and shit and try to take people out. But it wasn't one of us.
And again, I think
you know
all
what I'm
these
saying?
instances just show there's a problem.
Yeah.
There's a problem. Like there's no, you can't tell me that's not a rational starting point. There's a problem.
Yeah.
Now again, I'm not one of these people saying take guns away, take people's gun rights away. I'm not one of those guys neither. But I also say there would be a focus, there would be a plan to deal with this. If it was, black kids doing this or Muslim kids doing this, you know what I mean? It's just, we know this, and that's the funny part when they talk about law and order is, obviously law and order applies to some and not others in a way that, is documented. You know what I mean? No matter what stat you want to run, it's documented.
Yo,
it's not an opinion-based thing.
sometimes we overwhelm ourselves and say that we're so educated that we think we understand how the system is going to work. And all the time we trying to say, yeah, we got them. We about to flip the script on them right here. They already got us like 2 steps ahead in the chess game, bro. Like, they got us, bro. Like, you think so or not, bro? I'm telling you, son. Yo, we sitting here like we think of ourselves like, I look at all of y'all right now and know y'all all educated men right here sitting next to me because I wouldn't be with anything less than that. You know what I'm saying? But we think of ourselves as that educated, grown-ass man shit. But you think the government don't already have that perspective to know that we're going to be sitting here trying to think of how to find the loopholes and try to find our way into regaining the sovereignty that we should be having in this country and shit? But guess what? They're already 2 or 3 steps ahead of us, bro, and it's the naked truth.
But they can't be for long. They can't be too.
Not because they're smarter than us, but because they have the money and the resources to be so much further ahead of us.
So you saying it's
you know what I'm
hopeless?
saying? No, I didn't say it's hopeless.
Right.
But at the same time, we are lagging behind.
I don't think so because
We
we
are
have
lagging
power
behind, man.
without
I
anybody
was
to
in the
control.
military, and
Look, listen. Wait,
I'm not just some
wait.
stupid spick from the hood.
Yo.
But I saw what rank does in military when you have a chain of command to follow and how far the chain of command goes up. You'd be surprised of how lesser you being at the bottom of the chain of command of these dudes right here knowing what the whole plan of the game is. And they're 2 steps ahead of us already knowing that we're going to be sitting here trying to contemplate and put it together and put the math to overcome them. They're already there, yo. And it's because I seen it. I seen it. I served. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's hopeless, but we got to get that 2-step jump on them. You know what I'm saying? They are ahead, bro, because of we don't have some of the resources and the financial backup to know what they know before we know what we know. And that's the whole problem of it.
It's not just about resources.
Without the people, they can't do anything. They can't control what the fuck they don't have. They're trying to control us for whatever reason they're trying to control it. We are their power. You know what I'm saying? So no matter how much money they have, if let's just say this group turns into 500 tomorrow and 5,000 the next week and 5 million, if we're all on the fucking same page to understand that we have the power, then they can't do anything. Their money is coming from us. It's just straight up. Like their money is coming. No matter how many times they overprint the dollar.
You know the funny thing,
they're so far ahead that even if we stop working for them for the next 5 years, they've already built an empire enough where even if we don't work for them for 5 years, they got the backup money because of all the time they invested.
Now here's the thing: the system is complex. The system is complex.
With the labor,
Exactly. Labor is the only thing that assigns value to the money.
But that's the point I want to make.
The only reason we have money is to decide the value of everybody's labor.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because the bread man and the butcher man, like you can't just pull up to the tailor and be like, here's a slab of beef, give me a suit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You know, there's the system is complicated, which is why again I don't think it can't be deconstructed. That's my opinion. you use the word hopeless. I wouldn't say it's hopeless because I think you can always find, and this is one of those things that's just, it's important, is you got to be able to find a way to find a way. You know what I mean? But that, I think, again, if we're being rational, you can't deconstruct this system. It's a tangled web, man. It's a thousand lines crossed. You can't do it. You can't do it. Because here's why I say that.
Can be deconstructed.
You gotta be able to impact
and if it
banking.
can be deconstructed, it can be.
So here's the thing though. You gotta be able to impact finance. You gotta be able to impact education. You gotta be able to impact healthcare. You gotta be able to impact politics.
There's a yin and a yang to everything.
It's like you just
gotta
lay down
have the
a
good, the bad,
systematic
and the
plan and
ugly
you say
for
it
it
can't
to
be done.
exist.
But check it
How
out.
though? How?
Check it out.
Because
Check it
again,
out.
when we talk about numbers now, here's the thing: as that kind of a movement rises, what's the reaction?
You're gonna get backlash.
And by that I mean more people who didn't vote before are going to vote for the opposite because of it's gaining steam. Now those discussions of we're losing control, we're not able to do the things we want to do. That's where that starts to say, you know what, I used to vote with that, but I'm going to start voting with this. Or I didn't vote and I'm going to start voting because it's going to impact mine.
Right,
so then
now
we're talking about how the system works politically. Numbers is the thing. So now we're talking about numbers. It's going to be a while. I think what they're saying, 20 years or something like that, minorities are going to be the majority. Something to that effect. It's not right now.
But they already
what I
are.
mean?
Like, you got to think of when they only on
And a big chunk of minorities don't vote, whether it be felony wise, you're immigrant,
or in
you know what I
prisons.
mean, shit like that. Like there's a big chunk of black and brown people.
What
who
if
can't
we
vote.
just said fuck all that? Fuck the politics. Fuck. What if we just stop playing the game?
That's what needs to
It
happen.
came up with a new.
And that's the hard part though, and that's a great point. But let me ask you, what do you think the odds are that happens on a large scale? When people are literally check to check. I don't pay my rent next month. I'm out. You know, like again, and I'm just talking about like the likelihood of that because of
Check it out.
the,
It's not
the
about
impact.
It's not
but
about where it
if you don't
starts.
pay
It doesn't have to start on a
your
large
rent,
scale.
you're
If
out.
it starts on a small
But
scale, it
who's
works.
going to kick you out if the people that
respect.
are going to be sent to kick you out are also down?
Facts.
Now here's the funny part of that, right? And we know this, history has shown us this. There are many people who can be down but not see themselves as down. You know what I mean? Or who can see themselves as down but not committed to the same mission. It's like strikes. You know what I mean? And I think the hard part is, and again, this is why in my head at least, it's almost impossible to deconstruct the matrix. You know what I mean? Unless you just shut down the matrix completely. And like you said, that's the way, but how do you get that to happen on a large scale? Because again, it can only have an impact if it's on a large scale.
You got to start small. You can't think of it.
Right. But how long does it take to get to that point? And what's
It'll
the
take
likelihood?
forever. I mean, the same amount of time it took to fucking abolish slavery. I mean, you think about that was a structure. That wasn't just random fucking acts of violence and enslavement. Like, that was a structure, and it took a long time. And I'm not talking about the Nat Turners that fought back. Like, it took a long time for them to break that structure to get to the higher ups, even though Abraham Lincoln didn't really do it for the people. He did it for the money because they was losing money against the North and the South. But it took a while to get to that point. It may take 400 years. It may take 40 years, but when you start small, you have to grab anybody you can.
Just to close out my point, and bring it back to where I think it starts, is create your pocket within the larger system. That's where you have more control. That's where you have more power. You know what I mean? When you're trying to influence the other party's wheel, so to speak, it's not going to happen the same way as if you build your own wheel. You know what I mean? And that's my thinking. I'm not so much worried about deconstructing your web. I want to build my own. You know what I mean? Like, that's really what, and that's an easier thing to do than, to me at least, than it is to attack a system that is literally
That's why I said
a million strands tied together.
Playing the game, create our own game. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not saying completely unplug, but yes, let our label be our label. You know what I'm saying? And not be for somebody else. And be self-sustaining. You know, and have a means to protect it at the end of the day.
Because here's what happens, right? Under the idea of entrepreneurial spirit and, you know, hiring and employing your people and all of the things that are all in spirit great, it's not as easy as that. You know what I mean? So again, and this is where you go somewhere, you start a job, and now he's like, I got to close the doors. You're not making that kind of money. Versus some people saying, I've got security. I'm working for the hospital. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the uphill battle. You know what I mean? Because here's the one thing you want as providers is some sort of way to provide security. You know what I mean? So that's another part of the puzzle that's difficult. How do you support the transition, because there's a transition period? How do you support that?
What it's about is a decision that has to be made collectively. Because the lack of security, you know what I'm saying? You say somebody opens up their own little thing, they got it moving. If everyone decided that we all going to support each other, like what was it, like 3.2 billion in throwaway money, black people every year?
Yeah.
I think we could start a burgeoning economy off 3.2 million.
Right.
Like, but we just don't have a plan.
And the commitment, man.
Like we
You
don't
gotta have a plan.
we haven't
and a
decided to.
commitment. Yeah.
We just doing what everyone else is doing because we don't want to look funny.
I mean, you can look at budgeting, right? And we had this discussion before, I think, on one of the prior ones. But, you know, we talk about school budgets. The school budget didn't pass in Uniondale. It don't make no sense. You know, like they had a vote like a year ago to expand the schools. Kids are still learning in trailers like they had when we were in Lawrence. Like, how? How they learning in trailers? The heat ain't right. You know what I mean? Things like that. They have one vote, it doesn't pass. They bring back a new vote. The first vote would have been like a $300 difference in your taxes every year. $300. Like, I can't speak for everyone's pocket. Like, I always preface this discussion because I can't speak for you can't speak for someone else. Yeah. $300 is $300. You know what I mean? Yeah. But what am I getting for my money is what I want to know. Like, that's my concern when I hear $300. What do I get? The kids get better schools. They get updated computer labs. You know what I mean? They get facilities that are improved, that'll facilitate an environment where kids want to learn. You know what I mean? We've all been in places where overcrowded classes, 25 kids, torn up books, pages missing. Like, we know what that is. It shouldn't be like that. If I got to spend $300 a year more so my kid can go to a school where they have books that are, he's the first name at the top of the list on that opening cover, or you know the computer labs don't have Commodore 64s from 1992. You know what I mean? Like that, to me, there's value there. You know what I mean? And the sad part is to see the community not vote for that. Now here's the caveat. There's a lot of voters who don't live here. There's a retirement community on the other side of the highway that's in our district. They vote. So again, in our community, you have a lot of Central Americans, a lot of Caribbean people who aren't necessarily citizens. Yeah. So they don't vote. So you got a bunch of people who are here, but they don't go to vote. On top of the people who just don't go vote. So now they pass another bill like 4 months later, but it's a trimmed down, bare bones. Like, all right, so now it's $150 a year on your taxes. You happy? Like, I don't get that. You know what I mean? And that's the difficult part when we talk about collectively improving our situation is at the most basic of levels, we're missing the boat. Because again, to me, I get it. Because people here, taxes go up. And I was saying this to someone, I forgot who I was talking to, somebody at work, where it's like, we're not in a district where our schools are great. Like, I get some of these neighborhoods in Garden City and all of that. Like, nah, we're not going for a tax hike. Their schools are pristine. They have the best of everything. I get that. We're not there. We don't have that same luxury to say, we're good where we're at. We don't want to take on no more cost. And again, like my father, you invest in your future. And your future is your kids. Like, I'd rather spend money on nothing else but my kids. And that's just an example of collectively, like you talk about, we need to do some things collectively. But we got to figure out a way to start at the most basic levels before we can get to the more complex levels. And that takes time, man.
How often would they be collecting that extra $300? Yearly, right? Now, wouldn't it be good if you could identify the people who wanted the budget to pass and still collect their money and put it to use for your children? Collectively. Because that's a lot of money that's just going to waste. That people would spend.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying?
I know bureaucracy-wise, they got their plans, and if they do anything outside of that, they got to start all over. But no, I get your point. I get your point.
I mean? Just on an independent.
There's something to be done.
You know what I mean?
There's money there. There's something to be done.
Yeah,
right.
Most definitely.
Right.
Because like you said, not everybody votes, but there's a good portion of people, and there's a good portion of money that could be used. You know what I'm saying? But that's what we got to do. We just got to start thinking for ourselves. Because too often we let everybody else think for us.
And that's where being active is huge. And that's why, again, it's interesting, and I love having these discussions because, again, I think everybody has a part to play. Everybody has a different passion. Everybody's got something different they're willing to do. You know, but it's like showing up for budget votes, voting politically. Like, making sure your finger's on the scale. Because as you mentioned, a part of the conversation is other people being in control of the narrative, but it's also, do you have your finger on the scale? You know, and that's the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Is you want to have your finger on the scale. And, you know, I think there's an important transition that's required that's going to be painful and difficult.
Yeah.
But
You know what I mean?
people are in pain now. Like, I think they don't realize, they don't understand. It's kind of like the whole.
They're numb to it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the whole mental health thing that's going on in the media now. Like everybody has a mental health problem, probably. They don't realize they're in pain. The same thing. Like we're in pain. When you hear somebody being lynched, you hear this dude getting shot, this woman getting shot. Like that's pain that we're numb to because we're used to it.
Word.
But when you say, hold up, if we can change it, but we're gonna go through like 30 years of pain. It's like, oh shit, no. I don't want to do that. I don't want to struggle. I don't want to raise my own chickens or grow my own kale. But you don't realize you're already in pain. Like you're not surviving. You're not living. You know what I mean? Like you're not living the American dream. Whoever was selling it to us, what we're doing and how we're living is not the dream. If you have it, so to really bring people together is for them to understand you're in pain right now. You're hurting right now. So if you look at it and say, damn, I don't want to hurt for 30 years more, you're going to do it regardless. You know what I mean? Like if I say, yo, we got a plan, 30 years it'll take, but we're going to hurt for 30 years, but after that 31st year, we're going to be good. And you say, no, I don't want to do it. But if you don't, you're going to hurt forever. You're going to be in that same pain that you don't realize you're in forever. And it's hard to explain that to somebody, some fucking Joe off the street. But when you get brothers like this together, like they can influence. We can influence way more than we know. You know what I mean? Like, and to me personally, like I don't talk to certain people about certain things because I just assume I can't. I assume I can't. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I really do. I assume I can. Like, you know, like I'm a freaking genius, but I got knowledge of self and knowledge of most people around me and where I live. But I don't assume I can just bump into a dude in a pizza shop. We just happen to be talking about the game with Cleveland, and then be like, "Yo, brother, but did you vote for the? You got kids? Did you vote? You know what I mean? To expand it." And you're like, what? You know what I mean? Like I assume he's gonna be standoffish.
Yeah.
And that's bad on my part, because he may have voted. He may have been that dude, like you said, with his hand on the fucking scale.
Or maybe he didn't vote, and if you presented the knowledge to him, he would have been open to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like I said, that's a fault on mine. Like, but that deconstruction, I think it would start there. It would start with people understanding that where we are now, no matter what you wear, what you have, is not where we can be. And if you fear changing that, you're going to your lifestyle is going to dwindle, and your children's lifestyle are going to dwindle. Don't look at it as, I don't want to suffer for 30 years just to make it right, because you may not understand you're suffering right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's the nucleus that has to happen, is like that conversation to say that, son, we doing bad. You know what I mean? Like, everybody got a house, everybody got a crib, nobody's kids are starving, but
collectively we doing bad.
So if you look at it as, I don't want to do bad for 30 more years, then you need to think about the fact that you doing bad right now. You're gonna do bad forever if we don't start something. You know what I mean? Like, something has to change. Like, we can't be.
It's about perspective.
Complacent. You know what I mean?
It
like,
may
that
not
shit
even
is.
be struggling for 30 years, depending upon how you look at it. But like you said, some people don't even know they're hurting, right?
Yeah.
It's all about their perspective. From their perspective, they good. So it may be somebody you take, and you may explain something that sound like a struggle to you, might sound like heaven to the next man. What you mean? I get to grow my own food, make my own clothes, and build my own house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That may sound like everything to somebody. But you just gotta find people that are in tune to that frequency. I mean, you can start doing what you gotta do, if that's what you're trying to do. I just threw that out there. So growing and all of that. But it's good you were talking about voting. I'm not the biggest voting person, you know what I'm saying, in the world. I'm not saying it's not important, but as far as changes occurring, I really haven't seen that through legislation. You know what I'm saying? Schools is good. You know, as far as improving the technology in there, I agree with that. Give our kids a better chance to be competitive. The curriculum is remaining the same. I don't know how to vote that out of position. You know what I'm saying? So it's certain things.
Well, you got to get people at the top who believe in changing things, man.
Mm.
Like, you know, for example, a dude that got elected in Philly to be the DA, he was a civil rights attorney. That shit don't happen every day. A civil rights attorney becoming a DA?
Yeah.
Like, this guy's like, nah, we're letting you go on petty. You're not sitting in jail on the weekend because you had a clip in your pot. Like, it's common sense shit. You know what I mean? And that's the same scenario. Is you got to have the ability to have somebody, because it's all about decision making. Like, everything gets done because somebody's a decision maker. Somebody gets to say yes or no about whatever it is that you're trying to do. Ultimately, there's somebody, whoever okays the loan, whoever okays the legislation, whatever it may be, somebody has to say okay. Which is why I'm fascinated by it, but I'm also turned off by it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, politics is fascinating, you know, but it's the most important thing you can do to me is, if you in the game, be in the game. You know what I mean? In some way, shape, or form. And again, everybody has a different approach to it. But we here. You know what I mean? You might as well get in the game and do something. You know, and again, whether it be being active in the community, whether it be being a legislator or police officer, whatever it may be. But, you know, put some sort of something in the universe that's moving towards that. And I think, again, if everybody individually does that, then I think that's more beneficial, or going to be more beneficial quicker, you know, than more other alternatives. It's just every individual, again, each one teach one at its simplest form. You know, everyone, you know, trying to pay it forward and add something to the pot.
Now, on the contrary, I think we've tried that for a long time now. You know what I'm saying, as far as politics or putting certain people in certain positions, right? We even had a president that looked just like you and me in a certain position. But on broad range, like you said, collectively, we're suffering. There's been nothing to alleviate that collective pressure in a substantial manner. So I feel like just over a period of time, it's been proven. We've run for the offices, we've won the offices, we've gotten the positions, we've been the first African American here, first African American there, and collectively, we're in the same position that we're in now that we were in shortly after slavery. As far as ownership is concerned, we know power comes from ownership. Same amount of wealth we owned back then, same amount of wealth we own right now, if not less.
Nah, I don't disagree with that.
That speaks right, it's a fact.
Nah, because
That's a fact.
after slavery, there was a lot of ownership after slavery. Like, a lot of the skills that the slaves learned, they owned businesses thereafter. Not immediately after slavery was abolished, but there was a black busing company. There was a black taxi company in New York. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And other spots, like there was the black
Just like you see
baseball
Oprah,
league,
just like you see an Oprah now, or you see a LeBron now, but collectively. You understand what I'm saying?
But
collectively.
Yeah,
we have the same amount of ownership now that we did then. That's a fact. And that's, I understand, it's hard to grasp and it's hard to believe, because you say, how could we have come so far but have gotten nowhere? Like, how could time have passed in such a manner from then to now, but we in the same position financially? It doesn't seem to add up. But if you do the research, you'll see what I'm saying is true. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's so mind-boggling, and that's what's so upsetting, because, like I said, power is in ownership, right? And so we looking at power, we got to look at what we own from an economic standpoint. And we're not in a position to influence anything economically because of where our dollars go and what we own. We don't put our money toward ownership. We've never been taught to. Redlining, this is why we see people still. They get big cars and put them in front of shitty houses, because that's what we had to, that's what we could do back then.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a generational thing. We don't pass down generational wealth. We pass down a generational mindset of poverty.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what we pass down. We don't have that legacy, you know, financially to pass down to our children most times.
It's about the education, because we, like, I forgot what I was talking to somebody. He was talking about the rule of 72. My brother, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Rule of 72 and compounding interest, and most people don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? How you can put your money, you know what I'm saying, in something that returns a rate that's going to double your money, guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no risk. You just have to be patient enough to let the time that's needed to flip to happen. You know what I'm saying? And You can do that in your 20s, and you do that with your 10-year-old, and by the time they're 40, they don't have to work for anybody. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what skills they've amassed in their life, just because you had the foresight to put a plan in place that would, you know what I'm saying, put them in a position to succeed. It's like you said, it's about decisions, it's about ideas, it's about deciding that we don't want to be fucked up no more. So we need to do the things that is going to put us ahead, regardless of what we may have to sacrifice in the short term. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's about delayed gratification. Like, we're planting trees that we're not going to sit in the shade of. And until we get to there, we'll be running around the same mountain.
And that has to be all right with us. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, information is the power that we have, man. That's the one thing, man. That's why, as they say, there's two educations, the one you seek and the one that's given to you. And it's just, that's what it's all about. Because now, to use the example you just made about stocks and compounding interest, most people don't know nothing about stocks. You could Google shit, read all you want for 2, 3, 4 months, a year. You don't know nothing about stocks. The guys picking the stocks don't know nothing about stocks. You know what I mean? They know more. They have more information to make an educated guess than most people do. But, Warren Buffett said, why would I take advice from a guy who takes the train to work when I ride a Rolls Royce? What do you know that I don't? You know what I mean? Or as a 401k, what do you know about stocks? I'm investing in stocks. I don't know nothing about stocks. And I know something about stocks because I've looked into it, but I still don't know nothing about stocks.
I don't know how
You know what I mean?
works. I just know it works, but I don't know how.
But passing down that information, because here's the kicker: you got these kids who are raised and their parents do this. At 12 years old, they know about derivatives. They day trade.
Yeah.
They know about crypto. They bought in when Bitcoin was $10 a Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Like, these are the advantages that, again, when you talk about being in the game or not in the game, you want to be in that game. You know what I mean? You want to know those. And again, I want to know those things so I can pass those things on. But again, that's the world that is developing into, and not having access to that information. You know what I mean? It just
we have access to it. We just don't know to seek it out.
Or, and you're right, poor choice of words, but having the know-how to leverage that information. You know what I mean? That's really what's missing.
Practical application.
And that's the beautiful thing, and that's what gives me hope, I have to say, is you see how many of these young people are really locked into politics, the state of the world, how things are going. Like, that's great, because I think what was missed out in the civil rights era potentially was the impact of people going into infiltrate, so to speak. And infiltrate is a word I want to use, because if you get into the system, now you can impact it, generally. And I don't mean negatively, but you can impact it. So I think now when you have these 16, 17, 18-year-old kids who are walking out of school for, gun violence, who are on Twitter, who are into the news, they're going to be more interested in being involved in those things from the beginning. Yeah. And again, when you have more of them, it's not about right now. 20 years from now, again, that's you can have somebody who's committed. I'm going to make this change happen. It's not about, trying to get consensus. If I have the okay, as we talked about the president, if I have the okay to say yes, I'm going to say yes. Like, those are the people that need to be there. And I think that the beautiful thing about what social media and technology has done now is it's put so much stuff in front of kids at a young age that I think they are a little more committed to trying to make it a better world in regards to being involved. You know what I mean? And I think that's a beautiful thing, man. Because I know as a 16, 17-year-old, there wasn't nothing really running my blood, societal. You know what I mean? As far as me being active in some sort of, passionate, something. True. I was just 16, going, listening to music and, being a kid. These kids are into this, man.
I can't say that. I was into
These kids are into it. And that information gathering, at that age was huge. But right now, I think technology is going to shape another generation that I think is going to be a little more proactive.
But they're going to be more proactive, but we need to make sure that the machine doesn't suck them up. Because, what I'm saying, the machine is built to dull all those proclivities to question authority. You know what I'm saying? You're just supposed to fill out this timesheet. I need it by Friday, and I'll give you your check. Sit in your cubicle.
I think it's too late
you know what
for
I'm
that.
saying?
I think AI and social networks got the kid to the point where if there was a total reversal that was needed, we probably only would get like less than 30% of the people that are plugged in to reverse and understand what's going on.
It's a tangled web, man.
If we got 30%,
Yo,
that'd be more than
the
enough.
whole world is connected right now.
That's
How much?
That's
how
a
many
third
people-
of the world.
How many people do you think is going to turn their back on what most of them feel like their lifeline on social network?
Yeah,
You know what I'm
they
saying?
all
Like,
won't.
That's
but
the same amount of people that follow.
if the people that don't, are they the people you want with you?
True.
I don't want anybody with me. The only ones that I want with me is the ones that are like me, that understand how survival to get to the next stage of our human evolution, whatever that may be, after that Armageddon period or extinction event level thing happens.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that need to move forward, because those are the ones that are going to survive to make a better place after. Not those government motherfuckers are not even going to be on this planet when that extinction level event fucking happens.
What's
bro.
that movie, Elysium?
Come on,
Yeah,
bro.
that's Elysium.
They're not gonna be here. They're not gonna be here. They're gonna let us all. We sitting here like kumbaya ass motherfuckers right now, but in like 20 years when that shit goes down, we're gonna be like knives and swords towards each other trying to live, yo, straight up. Nah, you playing. You playing, bro.
You know, you really just like went to
Chess.
sleep. For
Remember
like
that
15
chess?
minutes.
I do. You know what? I was in
Nah,
like,
but you woke back and you just like joke right
nah,
back
no
into
doubt,
shit.
no doubt. I went into like some meditation mode that shit.
Yo, like, what he
No
got?
doubt.
You know that
No
AI.
doubt, like, I was listening. I just closed my eyes.
Robots,
Reacted to
nigga,
everything, bro. I'm telling you. Yo, for real, yo. We all here showing mad love and talking about the better things in life and how we all may or may not have children, but to move forward in our own section of people to strive and move forward. But when that extinction level event happens, bro, they are gonna put the swords in each of our hands to try and fight for our own survival, bro. You
But
think
if-
it's not yo, when you see shit on the movies, a lot of people say, oh, you watch too many movies. Bullshit. The movies show you how shit really might be when it goes down like that. You know what I'm saying? Like when it comes down to you and you have your 2-year-old or your 5-year-old daughter and you need medicine or you need some kind of sustenance for your baby, and it's between your baby living and me and my family living, what you gonna do, homeboy? Anything every man sitting right here will fucking do. And they're gonna put us against each other. What, son?
If
Come
like,
on,
let's
yo.
just
Come
keep,
on,
keep
yo.
it keep it in this perspective. If all 5 of us are having this conversation and 20 years later that extension level event happens, we're gonna be fucking collected already. We're gonna have our own swords, as you said, they're gonna put the swords in our hand, but we're gonna be fucking collected with our own swords. So you won't have to fight him. You won't have to fight him to get that medicine. He's already gonna know, yo, my daughter is down. Oh, I got you. I already got this. Yeah, I already got this. Like that's the point. That's
That's not
point.
gonna happen.
No,
yo.
that's what you said. Look. Just like you said. Looks like you said.
Level of it. Where is it happening and where is this coming from? Like, what's going on? I'm telling you.
Nah, don't even. I don't even want to touch on that.
Resources got
Something
scarce
drastic
all of a
is
sudden.
gonna happen.
We
Like
got
something
swords
large.
and shit.
But the point is, like you said,
Electricity
there's only gonna
is-
be. You said there's only gonna be 30% that will unplug and follow the righteous path. Like just according to what we're saying, 30% is the same amount that made the motherfuckers go that way. You understand what I'm saying? Like it started with 30% of motherfuckers to follow this dumbass, or this 30% to follow like hey, slavery is a good idea, or poverty is a good idea. Let's keep them there. It took 30% of the motherfuckers to follow, and the 70% came. So if we unplug and only 30 are there, those same dumb motherfuckers that we're calling dumb, for lack of a better term, yo, what are they doing over there? Like they're living still. Like I'm hurting right now without my fucking iPhone, but they're living lavish. They're gonna follow. Like 30% is way more than you need to change some shit. Far more.
And even if you don't influence the other 70, you got a collective. You got a core. You got a group. 30%.
That's
enough
enough
to
That's
live.
a great community.
It's a nice little
That's a
village.
fucking
You gonna
great
be all right.
community. You know what I mean? Like Free State of Jones. That joint with what's your man? I don't know the nigga's name, but whatever. Like that's
That
that's
actor nigga.
Like
Was
that's
it
a
movie?
great community.
Oh,
Yeah,
Free
Free
State
State
Jones?
Jones. The true story too. Like he wasn't messing with none of it. Like he wasn't with it. He created literally his own state amongst all the colonies around him. It was like, you come in here, you gotta abide by my law.
Jim Jones?
Jim
That's what it was about. What was it about? You said it's a real story. He's a
Jim
movie.
Jones.
Yeah,
Yeah, not the rapper.
Oh, I'm like, what the fuck?
Jim Jones. You know what I'm talking about, man.
Come guys.
Thank you.
Nah, man, Matthew McConaughey. It was a time of slavery, and then like people were fighting everywhere, and then he decided his part of land. I won't even call it a plantation, but his part of land. He decided he wasn't with it, so he what's the word? He made that his own state. It was called Jones. Like it was in the law, but that you can do whatever my part of land I control that I own is my law. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anything that came
SLP,
in,
baby.
anything that came, anybody that came in and tried to change it, let's just say for lack of a better term, you ain't see the movie. He has black people, he's a white dude, owns a house, but let's just say he's doing indenture slavery. You know what I mean? You work for this amount of time, you get paid, then you could be on your way. But everybody around him, all the houses around him, were just doing strict slavery the way we know it. He created his own fucking state and laws in that. So what I'm
happens,
saying is,
real quick, what happens when they leave Jones after they get their money? Then another white man can come smack him over the head and take him into slavery.
They're like, hey boy, pretty much.
basically. I mean, but that goes with anything.
Yeah.
That's
Nah, I'm just fucking with you.
that goes.
I mean,
like, yeah, they can't, or they may stay. They may stay and protect. Okay, I see this dude is on something different. I can create a family on this land and grow. We're not gonna be slaves. We're gonna be a fucking
I'm saying you let
community.
him stay. He was just like, you work for me and you gotta roll.
I mean, I'm not trying to sell a whole movie, but yeah, you know what I mean. Like they can stay, or they can leave. If they leave, yeah, they could get busted over there and turn into a real slave. But you could stay and build the fucking community, build that state of Jones. You know what I mean? Like his last name was Jones. He declaimed this state Jones. You know, people like remember in school when we gravitate to a fight. You know what I mean? Like you hear somebody fighting, you walk to it. You don't know what kind of fight it is. You don't know if it's a gunfight, fucking ninja stars, bats, but you hear a fight, you walk to it. We should be walking the fuck away. When you think about it, if you don't know who's fighting, why they're fighting, and what they have, you should be walking the fuck away. So it's natural for humans to gravitate towards something that everybody else is going to.
Towards activity.
Exactly. So that 30% that you said will only be, man, that's a great nucleus. But it starts here, B. Like it starts here. Somebody else's house, they're doing the same shit.
If
Like
we say only 1% of people run the world, then
30%.
we got some hope, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if we get rally 30.
Yeah, just got some hope, man. You know? But, yeah, man. Gentlemen, I want to thank y'all for coming through, you know, adding something to the
Thanks for
discussion.
having us, man.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
No doubt.
You already know. And thank y'all for being with us and for joining us, man. Till the next time, be well.
Gentlemen.
Peace, kid.
Make it, man.